All right. So are you looking to build a brand and you're thinking, well, what are some of the companies out there that I think of with brands and people that are doing it really well? Well, one of those that probably comes to mind that you may not necessarily think of in the e-commerce world, but Disney, Walt Disney. So the Walt Disney Company actually is a company I think very fondly of because early in my career, I was a manager at Walt Disney World. So today I'm super excited and honored to have the former executive vice president of operations for Walt Disney World. He literally ran the place. His name is Lee Cockerell, and he's with me today. He was, I guess you could say, he was kind of my boss at the time. Lee, I'm so excited that you're here with us today.
Yeah, well, good to be with you. That's been a long time since we were at Disney.
Yes, we're both removed from Disney for a few years, but we both learned quite a bit, and I learned a lot from you. One of the things I was just sharing before we got on recording here was that some people, their first audio program might have been Tony Robbins or Brian Tracy or Les Brown or something like that. My first audio program was the Disney Great Leader Strategies by Lee Cockerell, who's on here today. So,
yeah, that turned out pretty good. I hear that all the time. People will contact me to see if they can get another one because they lost it or something.
Right, exactly. It was on cassette, and it was something that you had given to managers and people in the organization to learn, about Disney culture. So you were big in communicating early on. Before we had mediums like podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff like that. That was one of your ways of getting your message out there. So you've been doing this for a while now. So tell us a little bit about Lee's story and how you ended up at Walt Disney World.
Well, it's a miracle, I guess. I grew up in Oklahoma on a little farm and kind of had a dysfunctional family. My mother was married 5 times. I said, I've been adopted twice. I got my name Cockerell when I was 16 by husband number 4. And he had money, so I got to go to college, but I forgot to go to class. So that didn't work out too well. So after 2 years at Oklahoma State University, I went in the Army and I served in the Army. And then when I got out, I had met a guy in the Army. He asked me if I wanted to go to Washington, D.C. He was going there to be a chef to open the Washington Hilton up on Connecticut Avenue. That's where Reagan got shot back in the 80s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
By John Hinckley, actually. Mm-hmm. And so we went to Oklahoma, got my car, and we drove to Washington, and we got a room at the Marriott. Little did I know I would work for them later. And I remember the room was $8. This was 1965.
Oh, wow.
And had drive-in registration. They were ahead of their time. You could drive up to a booth and register, and we all thought that was pretty cool. And then we went over to the Washington Hilton next day, and I got a job as a banquet waiter. I was 20 years old, and I took the job. I'd never been in a hotel my whole life. I didn't know anything about it. But I got lucky. A guy took me by the hand and taught me the business, a German fellow, Kurt. And so about 2 years later, I got promoted into a management training program. I stayed with Hilton 8 years and worked in Washington, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. And then I got fed up with my boss and I left, quit, went to a little job in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and got fired after 90 days. Place went bankrupt. And so I was without a job and looking around, and took me a couple months. I finally got with Marriott and stayed with them 17 years and became the vice president of the food and beverage business there for Marriott. And in 1990, I got recruited by Disney to go to Euro Disney and open the food and beverage operations first in Paris, and did that. We stayed there 3 years, and then I came back to Orlando in 1993 as the head of the resort division. And a couple of years after that, I got put in charge of all the operations at Walt Disney World. So, and after working 41 years, I retired in 2006 and started my own little business of speaking and seminars, and I wrote 4 books, and I'm having fun. No boss except my wife, and that's it. And she won't even answer the phone for me, so I have to do all the work. I don't have a secretary, nothing. Poor me. And but I'm having a lot of fun now. I speak all over the world, meet very interesting people. I help people think about what they ought to be doing to improve their business, make the business better. The things they can do, a lot of it costs nothing. And so that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So you've had a very, a lot of variety in your career there. Yeah. So just to give everybody a little bit of background on, like, when we say like running Walt Disney World, or, being in charge of the operations for Walt Disney World, what was exactly the scope? I mean, I know the answer to that question, but can you
Yeah.
describe the scope of Walt Disney World?
Well, it's pretty small when I was there, because now it's double the size since I retired. But I had 40,000 cast members that reported up through operations, and
It's
about
the
5,000.
employees, as we used to refer
Yeah,
to them.
cast members. Yeah, 5,000 managers. And but the way I was able to do that is I didn't know anything, but I surrounded myself by some really great people, and I had 6 direct reports that took care of things for me, and I just was there when they needed help getting something resolved. And I always tell people I didn't know what was going on, but they did. So
Uh-huh.
it worked out well, and I just loved the job. It was great. Cast is great. Our guests are great. Uh, I probably had the perfect job, because most guests that come to Disney World are happy. Not like you're selling cigarettes or oil.
Right.
So I had a pretty good deal, and it was a big operation. We opened Animal Kingdom during that time, so we went from 3 parks to 4. We built a ton of resorts, and now today it's probably 80,000 cast members over there. It's probably double. And it's amazing what's going on there. There's a crane on every corner with the construction, and it's
Oh, yeah.
fascinating place.
Yeah, it definitely is a fascinating place, and we all learned quite a bit from there. Now, you alluded to before that you basically have gone from, executive vice president of operations to, now that you're running the show yourself. So what has that transition been like?
Well, at first, and I've been doing it quite a bit, long time now. But at first, it was hard because I didn't know how to do a lot of things. Like with my computer, I used to yell out, and IT would come down and fix it when I was at Disney. Now, when I yell out now, nobody shows up. So and I have to pay somebody $100 an hour to come and help me. So I'm learning fast how to do things and get better at it. And it's really forced me to start to learn things that I should have learned long ago, because when you're in your own business, you don't have the level of support that you do at Disney. So everything I do, everything myself. I wrote my contracts. I booked my clients. I invoice them. I'm accounts receivable. I'm accounts payable. I do the marketing. I have a good website guy, and I have a guy I work with who helps me with the booking events for me, and we do a podcast together. And so basically, I contract people that I need to have as experts of things I'm not very good at, and that works out just fine. I use them when I need them, and when I don't have to pay them, and I get some of the best people around. My web guy takes care of my website's fabulous. Guy takes care of my podcast, all of those kinds of things. It's incredible, and so I don't have to do too much work. All I do is talk. So I told the guy, people I team up with, I said, I don't do work. That's why I'm hiring you. So don't ask me to do it.
That's awesome. So you now are, like, as we would say in the e-commerce world, you're doing a lot of outsourcing and, hiring folks to, freelancers and things of that nature.
Yeah.
What have you learned from, Walt Disney World that you've been able to carry over in leading people that are freelancers that maybe you're hiring for, one-off tasks and things like that?
Well, I'd say the main thing I learned, and everybody better learn it, is I make sure I hire right people. I get people who are great, reliable, credible, experts at what they do, flexible, and I'm very careful before I get together with somebody to have them take care of something for me, because at the end of the day, if you get that right, you don't have to do anything for them. They're wired that way to take care of it, to do a great job. So that's been my success, is I never worry about quality or getting things done on time or meeting deadlines or none of that stuff, because I have great people. And I've had to let a couple go and get new ones because they weren't on top of things. And that's one of the things a lot of people don't do in business. They stick with it. And I always tell people now, don't hire your relatives. They're hard to get rid of. So, so I haven't done that. My wife said she won't even answer the phone for me, so I have to do everything. So that's the main thing. And then I think being very clear, clarity, being
Mhm.
clear with people when I hire them, what my expectations are and what I need, and turnaround times and my expectations. Because when you're clear with great people, you don't have any misunderstandings, and that way things go smoothly. And I have a lot of things that there are deadlines on, and I got to get them done. And I need people I can rely on, that I don't have to lose sleep at night worrying about whether they're going to do it tomorrow. So I would say those two things are the really big things. And then I treat them well. I pay them
Mhm.
more than they ask for, and everybody likes that. And
Mhm.
I treat them well, and I give them a lot of referrals, and a lot of I promote them to other people so they can increase their businesses too.
Mm.
So if you got great people, that's easy to do. If you've
Mhm.
hired if you've hired people that are not very good performers, it's kind of hard to recommend them to your friends and family. So that's the way I think about it. Hire them right, train them right, and treat them right, and life will be good for you.
Well, that's an interesting lens I hadn't even thought of. Like in the hiring, if you're hiring someone that you would be willing to refer off to friends, and that you literally will hold yourself accountable to doing that, provided they're doing the right things, then you've hired the right people. Because I think if we're holding on to someone like, I wouldn't refer this person to my friends, then they're probably the wrong person.
Yeah, they are for sure, and it's a simple concept to think about. I tell people today. They say, how should I judge my leadership?" I said, "Be the kind of leader you hope your children have when they get into the workforce. You
Mm.
know, be the kind of nurse you hope your nurse will be when your mother's laying in the hospital bed.
Hmm.
Take it more personally. I want my grandkids to have great leaders that train them and develop them, work with them, and give them good feedback and teach them, and not be abusive and pushing people around and threatening and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do that to get results. Just be clear with people, and be firm and follow up. And
Hmm.
I always tell people, the two things I think are most important, and I've thought about it a lot in my life, is empathy and discipline. If you have those
Mm.
two things, you'll make the right decisions. You'll, discipline to do what you're supposed to do, and empathy to try to understand each situation, so you don't make bad decisions about people until you know what's going on. And so that's it's kind of what you do with your kids. You love them, and
Right.
you got to discipline them. So I always tell people, manage like a mother, and you'll be fine.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was that you teach companies little things they could be doing to improve their operations, and some of which don't cost anything. What are some of those things that you recommend?
Well, I wrote a book called The Customer Rules, and it's 39 rules I say that you can do to give sensational service, and most of them cost nothing. Uh, I asked my granddaughter when I wrote that book, she was 12, I said, "Margot, I'm writing a book on customer service. What do you think is the most important rule in customer service?" She looked at me, a 12-year-old. She said, "Well, Pappy, the first rule is be nice." you know, Now that costs nothing.
Yeah.
Uh, be nice. And I asked my grandson what he thought service meant. He was 10. I said, "What service mean to you, Tristan?" He said, "Pappy, when you serve, you're always the giving one." And
Mhm.
those cost nothing to have those kind of people, and all kinds of things. Customer service is a state of mind.
Mhm.
It's not a department I talk about. It's like everybody in the organization. You've hired the right people. They're all going to take care of the customer no matter what. And you, the boss, don't have to be there because you've hired people that are wired that way. And they're
Mhm.
going to go out of their way. I just got a note from a guy yesterday. He's got a band, and they were playing in a musical, and all of a sudden it started raining. And they were outside, and they had two more songs. And he said he had listened to my podcast and read my books, and he knew that he could just shut it down or he could make it special. So he
Mm.
went inside the tent with his band where everybody ran to when it started raining, and he finished it up in there, just without the sound system. Well, just went in there and did it. He said the people loved it, and he sold a lot more merchandise. And he said, just those little things. It's not, when you got a situation, what can I do? Not what I can't do. What could I do? And so that's what that book is full of. Gives ideas about how to be different than everybody else, like I do with my business. I'm different than other speakers on purpose. A lady hired me yesterday because I told her my fee and it was high, and I told her, for that I'll give you a couple days. So she told me yesterday, she hired me. She said, I was able to cancel 2 other speakers because you were willing to do more. I got it. They didn't. And I said, I'll come in early if you want to have a dinner with your sponsors, whatever you want to do. Or let's talk to the high school kids while I'm there in that town, and we'll give you the credit for it. You tell the community that you sponsored this, and I'm going to make you look great, and I'm going to do a good job for you, and she said, how much time can we use you for? I said, as much as you can stand me. And she said, a lot of speakers come in. She asked one speaker, said, can you do a breakout session after your keynote? He said, no, that's my speech. That's my price. And that's it. Well, come on. What kind of service is that?
Right.
Give me a break. Give me a break.
He's already getting on a plane to go wherever he's going to spend the time. So it's like, why not,
Yeah. Who do you think you are? I mean,
right.
and by the way, I enjoy it. It's fun talking, meeting other people. So I would tell everybody, figure out a way to be different than everybody else. People ask me all the time, how can I be successful in my career? I say, well, it's pretty easy. Be better than everybody else. Be more knowledgeable, learn every day, have a good attitude. When they ask you to do something, say no problem. And just be better than everybody else. And it's not hard to do today because most people aren't trying very hard.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that, just get yourself out there and just do a little bit better. One of the things we were talking about offline was that in the e-commerce world, sometimes people get hung up on like someone's trying to, get one over on them with a refund or whatever. And it's like, just give them the refund, make them happy. Like, is it worth it? If they leave a bad review or whatever, or can you go the extra mile and create a customer for life?
That's the cost of doing business. You're going to have people trying to manipulate you. Just got to go with it and treat everybody great, and even the bad people. Be nice to them. You'll be fine, and you'll have the key is you'll have a great reputation of somebody that's. If you're not happy, you don't have to pay me. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing is that, if you go that little extra mile, it's those magical experiences we used to say at Disney for people. And one of the things I thought was interesting is when I was at Walt Disney World, you had taught a course that I went to. And one of the things you talked about, it might have been in Great Leader Strategies too, about how you would take your grandkids with you to the park so you could experience it as someone there with kids. And I thought that was always pretty profound. So what recommendations do you have for people to get out there and why it's important to experience as your customer?
Well, because there's a bunch of stuff going on in your business you don't know about. Either your people are not telling you or your customers are not telling you. And if you don't know the truth, you're not going to make the right decisions. And if you don't get in there. So, yeah, I was lucky. I had 3 grandkids who were perfect age for that. I took over in 97 officially for all of Walt Disney World. And my first grandson was 2. And then they just kept being born. So I had 3. So we did all kinds of things. And they would come back and tell me the water fountain water was warm, it wasn't working right, the kids' meals were lousy, they didn't like them, and whatever it was. And that was good for me, and I was able to experience it just like a guest does. Nobody, I had a cap on, nobody knew it was Lee Cockerell out there, so I got to see it I got reality. And I would tell everybody, you better figure out 4 or 5 ways to find out the truth about your business, whether it's sending your neighbor in to do business with you or making a phone call, or your wife, or a company to do it for you. But you better know the truth, because guarantee you 100% people withhold the truth from you. And most customers, they don't even want to complain. They just don't come back. People are nice. My grandmother was one of those people. She would never complain. She was nice. She didn't want to upset people. But they just don't show up again. And so you got to be aggressive about knowing the truth. The truth is out there.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And to your point, like you could have, if you're using like in the e-commerce world, if you have a fulfillment company, that's fulfilling your orders. You could do a test order to yourself, or if you're on
Yeah,
Amazon, you're not really supposed to do that. You could have someone else do it. Just see,
yeah,
how is the package arriving? Is it crushed? Is it,
yeah, yeah.
is it coming in good quality? Does it have dust all over it? So, if there is a problem, you can address it, because problems don't go away just because you don't know about them.
And every company will send you a survey, and I don't even fill them out anymore because they're so long. But when people say to you, "How was your dinner?" We all say great, but we just don't come back.
Right, right.
We don't tell them the truth. We just kind of say, "Okay, fine, it was fine. We'll see you." And
Yeah, that's a good point, because at the end of the day, the true test is the customer come back? Did they come back for dinner? Did they go back to Walt Disney World?
right.
Did they book the speaker again? Did they buy that product online again? That's what really matters.
You lose customers one at a time. I mean, you did something, they didn't like it, you just don't ever hear from them, see them again. And,
Now, if something does go wrong, what's the best way to fix it?
well, for me, it's just to not avoid it, to get in there and basically I try to understand, what happened and what do you want me to do? How can I make this right with you? And I'm sorry that happened. And then take care of it. I do that all. I had a speech one day. I was sitting here on a Sunday morning, and I don't do speeches on Sunday morning. I got a call from the Disney Institute, said, "Aren't you supposed to be at the yacht club speaking right now?" I'm going, "Whoa!" I'd forgotten all about it.
Oh no.
And I scrambled and got over there and gave the speech. And the lady worked with me to let me come an hour later, and I got in there and gave it. And I was thinking about that, and I called her and I told her I'm going to take off $5,000 off the fee because I'm sorry I did that. And I've done more business with them since that. And, I'm not, go for the long haul. Don't go for the short, play the long game. And I want people to know that they can call any of my clients and they're going to tell you good things about me because I did something special for them. I was there early. I stayed. I mingled with their people. I had lunch with them. I gave another speech. I did a book signing for them if they wanted it. Whatever they want, that's what I want to do. People will tell me, "Don't you want to be in the green room?" I said, "No. Why would I want to be in there? That's boring." So I get out and I like to get out with the folks. And by the way, you make other contacts when you're out meeting people. Every day, every entrepreneur, everybody, you ought to be meeting people every day, as many as you can, because there's going to be something in there for you and for them eventually. And so meet people. If people don't know you, they can't help you.
Yeah, and that's so true. And in the world, people are willing to help others, and the more you put that boomerang out there, the more you're going to get it back, especially when you don't have expectations.
I just met with a guy a few minutes ago that apparently he listens to my podcast, and he had this idea to book some business for me and for us to do share revenue. And he drove over here from Jacksonville to see me today. And and it's because he and I had met somewhere back, God, I don't know when. And then we had talked. And let me tell you, you never know what is going to come around when you get to know people. I tell my grandkids when they go to college, you sit on the front row right in front of the professor and you get to know him, and he'll give you a better grade because that's how real life works. If you sit up in the back, he doesn't know you. Well, and by the way, you'll graduate in 4 years instead of 7. So that's go to class, sit in the front row, pay attention, take notes. Yeah. So there's a lot of little things we can all do to get better results for ourselves by taking care of other people better.
Yeah, that's so true. And sometimes people say it's who you know, but it's really who knows you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Who knows you and knows your reputation and knows the quality of your work and your reliability. Yeah.
Yeah, you put yourself out there, you're reliable, you do the right things. I mean, it's kind of like what you were saying before, like the person who, you had an issue with, your speaking engagement, and you made the situation right. You went more, probably even above and beyond than she was expecting, but she was more likely to use you in the future. And I think, we shouldn't seek out opportunities to, mess things up. But whenever something does go wrong, if we seek out, how can we make this even more than what they're expecting? Whether it be like, let's say an e-commerce seller, they have a product and the person's not happy with it. Oftentimes I'll tell them, don't even return it. I'll give you your money back and I'm going to replace it. and I'm going to give you something extra. It's just
Actually,
that
Luke,
little extra.
actually, my son and my wife went together and gave me 4 pair of pants from Lululemon for Father's Day, but I didn't get them
Okay.
until I got back. I didn't get them until I got back because I was in Europe for 6 weeks. Well,
Oh,
by
that's
then
right.
I looked at the receipt and it said we give full refunds or exchanges for the first 30 days.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking, okay. So I went over there and handed the lady the bag with the 4 pair of pants. So I needed a different size, and the receipt was there, and she looked at it. She never mentioned that 30 days. It's been like 6, 7 weeks. She just took care of it. And,
Right.
I love that. They were so nice, so great. They didn't bring up, well, oh, it was 30 days. And so, you just got to. And by the way, that lady I gave the rebate to, because I was late for the meeting, you know what? She may never hire me again, but she might recommend me to 10 more people. And,
Mm.
that's the
Hmm.
key. Who knows how many people just, recommend you and you don't even realize it. You never know. You just know your sales continue to increase. And a lot of it is referral business. We all do that. When there's a good product, we tell other people. When there's a good person, we tell other people. And by the way, we tell them when it's bad too. But yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. And, it's one of those things. So kind of one of my Walt Disney World stories was that I started after college as a manager, which was relatively not very many people went straight into management after college at Disney. But one of the things that happened was I was an intern at what we called the casting center. That's where people went to go get a job. And
yeah,
I got to know some of the recruiters there. And I heard this story of how, basically a couple of the recruiters, one for food and beverage, left and one took over. And because the one that like took over was like, who are some good candidates? And the one that left was like, hey, I think you should consider this guy. And that
yeah.
probably went more into like helping me open doors than I could have ever done myself. It was just that little recommendation from someone else.
At the end of the day, relationships are everything. That's just how we work. If I know you, we trust each other, I'll take care of you. And if you're a jerk, you know,
Right.
I'm not going to do it. I mean, it's such a simple concept. I tell people, don't get bored with the basics in life. Be nice.
Yes.
Don't go around screwing people.
Well, and at the end of the day, sometimes people will get too caught up in like algorithms and how algorithms work. But at the end of the day, there's still people behind them. So if you think it, what does the people behind those algorithms want? You'll probably be, not probably, you will be more successful in the long run than someone who
Yeah.
focuses too much
And
on the
And
algorithm.
if you want great algorithms, you better hire great, smart people who can figure them out.
Right. That's true. That's true. And,
You hire some dunce, and he won't. Not going to give you very good algorithms.
yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Quality.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
about quality. So what just to close out here, what advice would you give to yourself if you were earlier on in your career that you wish you would have known for just general business, taking care of people, relationships, whatever that little golden nugget you wish you would have known 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, I was pretty insecure young man because I had a lot of no college degree and my family I grew up in, and so I was kind of autocratic. And I would just say to people today, don't go out there and try to abuse people and try to get things done by using your position. Be a teacher. Don't be a big bad boss. Be a teacher. Teach people. Show them what you want them to do, and people are happy to do it. And I would say, don't underestimate what you can achieve in your life. Literally, when you're 20 years old, you have no idea how much you can achieve. You can get smarter every day. You can go on Google. You can take seminars, courses. You can read. You can become an expert in something. And also, don't underestimate the influence you have on other people every day. Be careful what you say and do. Be a good leader. People are judging you all day long. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And it's one of those things you never know. You could be, the executive vice president of operations at a a major company like Walt Disney World, and then randomly some guy who knew of you from 20 years ago reaches out to you because he was so impressed with working with you. So
There you are.
Exactly. Here we are. Here we are. So one of the things I just want to say is I'm impressed that I can tell in the way you run your solopreneurship is just like how you ran Walt Disney World and your philosophies and whatnot. And I hope that people listening to this, even though that, it's not necessarily the same industry, but at the end of the day, we're dealing with people, whether it's people on the other end of that order or people that, you're, people that you're working with, either as employees or freelancers or whatever the case is, or suppliers, that when we think about dealing with people, that's what it really all comes down to.
Yeah, and I will tell you, if they want to go look at my my podcast, Creating Disney Magic, it's on all the sites, and it's free, and it's only 15 minutes, and it's every Tuesday, and we're going to hit in August. We'll hit 2 million downloads on it.
Oh, wow.
And from all over the world, and it's just little 15-minute little simple things that'll help you be a better leader, a better manager, improve customer service, and improve your culture. Just little messages that we don't think about. And the best part of it's free. So, or they can go to my website, leecockerell.com, and there's a bunch of stuff there that's free also. We have a morning magic planner now that we give to anybody who wants it. And they can text 44222, and it's morning hour. It's called Magic Planner 44222, and we'll send it to you for free, and it'll help you plan your day. It's kind of a mini time management course for people that don't have time to go take one.
Yeah. Okay. A good deal. So you text 44222 and text which word?
Magic Planner.
Magic Planner to 44222.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure we link to all of that in the show notes. If anyone's listening,
Sure.
or for whoever's listening on podcast, whoever's listening or watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the description down below. So,
cool.
This has been an awesome conversation. I'm so honored that you're
it's
podcast.
Good to talk to you again after all these times.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a long time, but I'm glad to reconnect with you, Lee, and I'm really appreciating it.
Okay, anytime. You take care.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye now.